Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to those of you who have watched before, and hi to you, those of you who might be catching the replay. I am Dr. Julie Allig, aka the Data Diva. If you're watching today live, thanks for joining me. You'll notice that I'm in a very different location today. I'm actually not in my home office. I am on the road traveling. I'm at yet another conference. And so you get a look at my lovely hotel room on this Friday afternoon in New England in the United States. I am here today and every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific, unless something wacky happens like last week and there were workers in my house and it was way too loud and I moved it back an hour to 4 o'clock. But I'm here. You can watch on LinkedIn. Certainly join me here. You can also watch over on YouTube, where all of my previous live streams are housed, along with a couple other videos that I threw up there. So today we are going to talk about a quick recap of this awesome conference that I was at yesterday. I know it's just the week of conferences. But where I was yesterday was down at MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And what I was doing down there was attending a conference put on by a professor there and several other people. And it was called The Future of Business with AI, or perhaps it's Forging the Future of Business with AI. I'm really tired today. So I think I got that right the second time through. Anyway, it started at 7 a.m. It was all day jam-packed with tons of people on every level of the MIT Media Lab. There were pitches, there were lightning talks, there were fireside chats. And, I'm going to put fireside in quotes here, fireside chats, because they were fireside in a ginormous auditorium. And it was standing room only. And for those fireside chats with some of those people, I was out in the atrium watching on a secondary screen out there because there was literally no room to get in. And there were panels of current MIT students, PhD students, and there were so many other panels. I'm probably going to have more thoughts about this as the weeks, as I have time to process over the next couple of days and the next week or two. But I wanted to share with you all a couple of takeaways because this was just a very, very dense event. And I guess dense, I mean in a couple of ways. One, dense, there were a lot of people there, but also dense in the types of ideas and the depth of ideas about AI and all different types of AI and generative AI and applications of AI. And so it was just very dense, and I am so thrilled that I got the chance to attend. I met some really great people, tried to meet a few people in real life who I only knew virtually. Those didn't happen. But anyway, I want to throw out a couple of things that I heard. First is that multimodal is coming on strong. And this really crept up on me. I was not paying much attention to multimodal. And I was surprised by just how far some of the startups and some of the other researchers have taken it. So for those of you who, there might be a lot, perfectly natural, who might not know what the heck I mean by multimodal, I'm talking here, I'll give you an example. You take a picture of the contents of your refrigerator, you feed that into a generative AI solution, and you tell it to generate 5 healthy meals using the ingredients inside your refrigerator. And it outputs those for you. So multimodal, so the visual, taking a picture, and off of the picture, having the AI understand and interpret the picture, and then using language output something in a different mode, right? So I heard a lot, not so much in the images and the video, but especially in the voice. So for example, I heard one talk about a company that is using multimodal generative AI in sales. And specifically what they're doing is they are taking audio recordings of the sales conversations that a company's sales reps have with their customers. They are then analyzing those conversations using AI. And then they are using, generating strategies to improve those sales conversations, for pointing out how to handle tough questions, for coming up with what are the tough questions that tend to get asked most often, for talking about how to close the sale, not just in your regular old textbook way of closing a sale, but perhaps there's a specific way that your company has in its sales process, a certain flavor of sales, and you want to be able to train your customer reps in your sales reps, pardon me, the way that your company wants to do it. So being able to do that. Same company also doing something where they measure the customer sentiment, again, using that audio recording of the sales call. They measure the customer sentiment at the beginning and then at the end of the call, and they take the delta. So they calculate the change between the beginning and the end, and they use that as a KPI. So that I thought was really interesting. I thought it was innovative, but that's one example of the multimodal. There's a lot of that happening. So that, again, that took me a little by surprise. The second that I heard multiple times was companies or researchers dealing with the intellectual property of ourselves. And so, as one of the founders who gave a talk put it, how do I ensure that I am the one who owns AI Anna? Her name happened to be Anna. How do I know that I'm the one who owns AI Anna? So we think about this, we probably have seen this, you probably have seen this with celebrities. And it deals with, copywriting and trademarking of yourself. But it goes one step further, because if we think about it, and I hadn't thought about it this way, your data, my own data, your own data is scattered across the internet. And there are companies, AI companies, that are out there gathering it back up, collecting it back up, and creating a profile and creating a mini you or a mini me, and then using it and making money off of it. So I wasn't even thinking along those lines. I was thinking about intellectual property. That part of it didn't surprise me, but myself as like intellectual property, I really hadn't thought about that. So I heard this on several panels, like I mentioned, and then also this company that this panelist, Anna, founded, I believe she co-founded it. It's called Vana, and they've developed a personal server where your data lives in an environment that you control, and you can run a local large language model, right, a generative AI model alongside it. So the way that she was explaining it, at least in the way that I understood it, was, it's not just that you have you have ownership of you, the AI version of you, but you can also monetize it. And that just put a completely different spin on it too, because as she put it, companies are probably already using your data to profile you, to build mini yous and profit off of you. Why not flip the script? So again, I thought that was really interesting. I had not thought of it from that angle at all. And I'm really glad I heard that, because that's got me going down a couple of other roads that I hadn't been before. So again, intellectual property of yourself, myself. The third big takeaway is there was a panel that had several people on it who are using AI for good. And I really hadn't heard much about these at all. I hadn't heard much. And so I was curious. And so the one that really stood out to me was a panel where there was a representative from Boston Children's Hospital. Her name is Joan LaRovere. I hope I'm not butchering that. And that caught my eye because Boston Children's is where my daughter had some surgery done. And they are just, they're world class, and they earn that with every patient and every scared mom. So anyway, Ms. LaRovere is at Boston Children's, and she's also the founder of something called the Virtue Foundation. And the way she explained it, she found that there was a problem with matching health needs with healthcare delivery across many low and middle income countries around the world. And so she founded this foundation, and what they ended up doing was going out and creating a data set of healthcare NGOs. And they created this data set because they went out to places like the World Bank, innocently thinking someone's got to have this data, right? This data somewhere. And boy, no one had it. No one. So the Virtue Foundation said, okay, so we will build it. So they did build it. And then what they did is they merged in more data. They merged in country-specific data to generate what they call medical deserts. And the example she showed was the country of Ghana, and the way that they used information about the transportation infrastructure, about the population distribution and the density of the population across Ghana, the current supply of healthcare professionals, and then they're able to figure out where the midwives are needed, where the oncologists are needed, the ophthalmologists, all of these, especially these specialized care needs. And so they are able to, they're doing this right now in 70 or so countries. They're able to match up the specific needs with the care professionals, the doctors, the skilled nurses, that sort of thing. The end result being optimization of the location of healthcare facilities in places like Ghana across the world. And so I thought that was just really inspiring that this technology, this tool that is so powerful, is being used not just in business, profit-making businesses, but also in organizations, in healthcare, in philanthropic organizations, that sort of thing. It's a great use case. It's a great use case. I'm looking here and there we go. Sharon. Hi, Sharon. How are you? You heard this talked about on a podcast recently, but of course now you can't remember. Yeah. Isn't that how it always goes? If you think about it, if it comes back to you, let me know. Because I think, again, it's something that I've heard about. You've obviously heard about it. But it really hadn't resonated with me very much until I saw with my own eyes how these venture capital backed companies are starting up and are actually doing something with this. Yeah. And then the fourth thing that really stuck with me that I heard both explicitly and implicitly many times yesterday was about what is missing in AI right now, and that's transparency. I heard people say this just straight out, we need more transparency. And also reading between the lines, absolutely, we need more transparency. So with AI, again, AI is this ginormous umbrella term, right? That has a lot of different technologies and methodologies underneath it. If we've got a straightforward computational problem, sure, AI can solve that fairly easily, and we don't have to worry quite so much. But like one panelist said, if it's a social kind of task that we're talking about here, like things about trust, like she deals with bank fraud. So of course, that's going to be a little bit different. We're going to have social norms and culture come into that also. And what she was saying is, when we're trying to use AI tools to help solve these problems that are more detailed and have more to do with the nuances of how humans act and humans and societies act, we're going to need to have more diversity in the data itself, because we're going to need to be able to account for more interpretations of what's going on. And you and I both know that the current AI models out there, at least the ones that are open to the public, right? Not the ones that are completely closed off, but we all know what they were trained on, what data they were trained on, and that data is not diverse at all. So transparency is something that kept coming up over and over. Another big issue under transparency is consumer trust. So how can we make the AI explainable so that users trust the tool and they actually continue to use it? And I think that a lot of people aren't quite thinking about this yet, because AI still, it feels to me, is still a new toy. It's that new toy on Christmas morning or on your birthday morning, where you just want to play with it and anything, you're just so happy and all. You don't quite see the drawbacks. Well, one of the drawbacks is, as we all know, hallucinations. We can't necessarily trust everything that an AI model generates. We know that, yet we still don't quite believe it. People are starting to come to the realization that, yeah, this isn't a magic wand. This has got drawbacks. This is telling us things that just aren't correct. And one of the ways to counteract that is to be transparent about how it arrived at whatever it is outputting to you. And right now, it's not very transparent at all. In my world of analyzing data, Gen AI is so not transparent. Someone like me, trained as a social scientist, if I can't see the methodology, see the raw results, I can't trust it. And so I realized that's kind of an extreme. Not everyone is like me, trained that way. But I think other people are going to come to that realization too. And I remain convinced that these tools are so powerful that we need to make sure that people are able to use them, that they want to use them, and that they use them responsibly. And building up that trust through transparency is one great way to do it. Let's see. Oh, Sharon says, what does she say? Whatever the episode was, it was about the Elvis Act. Okay, so now you've got me curious. I need to go Google the Elvis Act as soon as I get off of this live stream here. I can't wait to learn a little bit more about this. Thank you, Sharon. One of my followers, a colleague of mine, earlier this week asked me to keep my ear to the ground for what AI can't do. And I did not hear much about that explicitly, because this was a conference where people were just showing left and right and center all the great things that AI can do. And so it really wasn't the one for people to say, yeah, we tried this and it didn't work, or can't quite do that yet. I will say, though, again, reading between the lines, and this is me listening to the speakers and the pitches, the startup pitches and everything, what I can tell you is that AI can't do a whole lot with dealing with diversity. It really can't yet. So for example, I mentioned at the top of this, the multimodal AI and sales, that example, where the company is taking audio recordings, running it through AI, and coming up with suggestions, coming up with being able to measure the quality of the overall sales conversation. I found myself wondering over and over, how are you accounting for differences in culture between the sales representative, let's say, and the customer? How are you accounting for those differences? What about gender differences? What about, I was thinking, I was wondering where exactly their clients who were using these were, because I was thinking, me here up in New England, the Yankee mentality versus a more Southern culture, Southern United States culture and mentality. Yankees are, they're they're not terribly welcoming. Don't get me wrong, the culture up here is people are nice, but they're not terribly welcoming, open arms, anything like that. Versus in the South, I mean, you move in to a new house and you've got neighbor after neighbor after neighbor coming over and bringing you meals and bringing you this and that and all that. So there are definite cultural differences in the United States. There are cultural differences between different cultures, between Europe and the United States, between Africa and East Asia. And these models are not, from what I can tell, they're not taking those into account. At least maybe they are, and they're just not being talked about. But I certainly didn't hear anyone talking about how they're accounting for that. And so I think that AI is a great tool, is what I'm coming up with. It's a great tool. It's a great instrument, but it's kind of a blunt instrument when we're talking about human interaction, analyzing anything like that right now. That, as of this afternoon, that's the biggest thing that I'm coming back with to my colleague who asked me about what AI is not doing. It's not really modeling the human interactions, being able to account for those very well yet. It's getting there. It's getting there. But I'm not convinced. I haven't seen the evidence yet. That's me. So my biggest takeaway was no one has any idea of how AI is going to impact businesses. It's just too multifaceted right now. Everyone is guessing, everyone. And a lot of the speakers were very clear about saying, you know, when they were asked questions like, where is this likely to be in 20 years? They would preface it by saying, this is just a guess. So this is good and bad, I would argue. It's bad because we've got no idea where this is going. It's enormous. No one person or even small group of people are able to wrap their arms around this and get some good understanding out of this. However, on the flip side of that, it's a really great time to be involved and to be learning and using these AI models, because there's room to influence where the AI goes next and where it develops next. Oh, Sharon, thank you. She found it. Ah, awesome. An AI Inside podcast episode with Sal Khan, how AI will revolutionize the classroom. Okay. Consider that added to my podcast listening queue. I'm going to listen to that. Thank you so much, Sharon. Awesome. So what was my biggest takeaway from this just fire hose of a conference? I am just gobsmacked by the breadth of questions that generative AI is being used to try to answer. Things that I had no idea about because I've got no domain specific knowledge, people are using it in. It literally just things I never would have thought. For example, the MIT student who is using generative AI to mimic the development of the mantis shrimp's eyes. And that was the shrimp that I mentioned in my LinkedIn post yesterday, that they can see in 12 channels. So they can see in 9 more channels, including the ultraviolet. Humans can only see in 3 channels. Who knew? And what this researcher is doing is using generative AI to fill in the gaps in the evolutionary biology record. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Do I really understand what they're doing? I have a sense, but I don't really quite get it. And I think that's, the biggest takeaway is that there are applications in literally every aspect of our lives. And I don't think I really recognized that until it was staring me in the face yesterday. Just every aspect of our lives. And if it's our lives, my life, then it's my clients' lives, it's your customers' lives, it's our businesses' lives, every aspect. And so that's just a little bit overwhelming. So going forward, I think my game plan is going to be to narrow down what I'm really paying attention to and focus just on my immediate domain area. I am thrilled by hearing all of these other use cases, and without a doubt, I know myself, I know I'm going to dip in and out of paying attention to some of them, especially the mantis shrimp. I want to see more about that now. But, for me, I'm feeling like the closest analogy to this is like having a game plan for when I go visit the Met in New York City. So the Metropolitan Museum of Art. If you've ever been there, you know that it is just so chock full of art that in one visit, I can't see it all. I can't take it all in. I can't synthesize it all. It's just overwhelming. So what I do when I feel like going to the Met, I say, okay, what am I going to see this time? This time, I'm going to go visit the Temple of Dendur. Next visit, I'm gonna hit 20th century art. The next visit, I'm going to check out the medieval art up at the cloisters. And, then as I'm walking over to the Temple of Dendur and I go through the Greco-Roman statues or something, I might see some of them too, and that's great. But I've got one thing, and I'm going to be focused on that and paying the most attention to that. I think that's going to be my game plan, at least for right now, for the foreseeable future. For my clients, I'm thinking most about how they can use generative AI responsibly to assist them with making sense of their data, with analyzing their data. I've got a few thoughts about this, so definitely stay tuned. But from the conversations that I've been having and the other solutions I'm seeing, this is a major pain point for businesses. So I'm thinking that that's how I'm going to proceed. Let me know in the comments, either now or over on YouTube, once this is up over there. Let me know what you are thinking about how to process this just overwhelming amount of newness and data. I was telling my husband last night, AI itself, trying to keep up with AI is like trying to drink from a fire hose. And then to go to the conference yesterday was like trying to drink from a fire hose. about a topic that itself you're trying to drink from a fire hose. It was just completely overwhelming. That said, it was so inspiring. And I am just so revved up about all of these applications. And I cannot thank Paul Bayer enough. He's one of the people from the group called Imagination in Action who put this on. And he happened to mention this a few months ago in one of the AI groups that I'm part of virtually. And I just cannot give him enough kudos. Him and his team and John Werner over at MIT. It was a spectacular conference. It was just wonderful. So, thank you for joining me today. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, there was so much to take in. I'm sure I'll be dipping back into this over the next couple of weeks. If you've got any questions, leave a comment. If you want me to expand on anything I said or anything else, let me know. More than happy to. And are you AI curious? Are you curious about using AI to streamline your business processes and maybe even do some of the heavy lifting of the analytics for your business data? Maybe you want a custom GPT built just for your business? Book a call with me so you can learn more about how me and my team can support you. I will drop a link below, or you can always drop me an email at julie_alig, ALIG, at jlaanalytics.com. And that's it for today, my friends. Until next time, go forth and analyze.